The acquisition of California by the United States from Mexico in the mid-19th century was the result of a series of events that ultimately led to war between the two nations. The acquisition of California was a significant moment in U.S. history, as it marked the expansion of the United States westward and contributed to the fulfillment of the country's manifest destiny. Background: the history of California dates back to the 16th century when Spanish explorers first arrived in the region. In 1769, Spanish settlers established a mission in Presidio, fortress, in San Diego, marking the beginning of Spanish colonization in California. Over the next few decades, Spain established additional missions and presidios throughout California, including San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Santa Barbara. In 1821, Mexico declared its independence from Spain and gained control of California. Mexico's control of California was tenuous, however, as the region was sparsely populated, and Mexico was focused on consolidating its power in other parts of the country. As a result, California was largely left to its own devices, with local officials exercising a great deal of autonomy. In the 1830s and 1840s, the United States began to show an interest in California. American fur traders and merchants began to establish a presence in California, and American settlers began to move into the region. At the same time, the United States was also expanding its territory to the east, with the annexation of Texas in 1845. The Mexican-American War tensions between the United States and Mexico came to a head in 1846, when a dispute over the border between Texas and Mexico led to the outbreak of war. The United States quickly gained the upper hand in the conflict, with several early victories in battles such as the Battle of Monterrey and the Battle of Buena Vista. In 1847, the United States launched an amphibious invasion of Mexico, landing troops in Veracruz and marching toward Mexico City. Along the way, U.S. forces encountered stiff resistance from Mexican troops, but ultimately succeeded in capturing the Mexican capital in September 1847. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo: with the capture of Mexico City, the United States had effectively won the war. However, it was not until February 1848 that a treaty was signed to officially end the conflict. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, named after the town where it was signed, was a significant moment in U.S. history as it marked the formal acquisition of California by the United States. Under the terms of the treaty, Mexico ceded a large portion of its territory to the United States, including California, Nevada, Utah, and parts of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Wyoming. In exchange, the United States paid Mexico $15 million and assumed $3.25 million in debts owed by the Mexican government to U.S. citizens. The aftermath: the acquisition of California was a significant moment in U.S. history, as it marked the expansion of the United States westward and contributed to the fulfillment of the country's manifest destiny. For the United States, the acquisition of California provided a number of benefits. The gold rush of 1849, which began just a year after the signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, brought thousands of prospectors to California, leading to a surge in economic activity and the development of new towns and cities. The acquisition of California also provided the United States with a strategic port on the Pacific Ocean, which was important for trade and military purposes. Several days earlier, before signing the treaty, in January 24, 1848, gold had been discovered on the American River near Sacramento, and the ensuing gold rush hastened California's admittance to the Union. With the gold rush came a huge increase in population and a pressing need for civil government. In 1849, Californians sought statehood and, after heated debate in the U.S. Congress arising out of the slavery issue, California entered the Union as a free, non-slavery state by the Compromise of 1850. California became the 31st state on September 9, 1850. The Golden State's rich history has since been shaped by people of every ethnic background who traveled here seeking economic, social and educational opportunity, and a life of quality and breathtaking beauty. California situated its first capital in San Jose. The city did not have facilities ready for a proper capital, and the winter of 1850 to 1851 was unusually wet, causing the dirt roads to become muddy streams. The legislature was unsatisfied with the location, so former General and State Senator Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo donated land in the future city of Vallejo for a new capital. The legislature convened there for 1 week in 1852 and again for a month in 1853. Again, the facilities available were unsuitable to house a state government, and the capital was soon moved 3 miles away to the little town of Benicia, inland from the San Francisco Bay. The strait links San Pablo Bay to Grizzly and Sassoon Bays deep in the interior. A lovely brick statehouse was built in old American style, complete with white cupola. Although strategically sited between the gold rush territory of the Sierra foothills and the financial port of San Francisco, the site was too small for expansion, and so the capital was moved further inland past the Sacramento River Delta to the riverside port of Sacramento in 1854. Sacramento was the site of John Sutter's large farm and his fort. In 1846, during the midst of the Bear Flag Revolt, the fort was an oasis. A war was being fought between American and Californio soldiers in the southern part of the province for control of California. But at Sutter's Fort, life on the frontier continued with rhythm of the seasons and arrival of new soldiers. The town was founded by John Sutter Jr. while the elder Sutter was away, at the river's edge and downhill from the fort. Sutter Sr. was indignant since this place, shaded by water-needy cottonwood trees, was often underwater. Indeed, every 100 years or so, the whole Great Valley from Chico to Bakersfield was one great freshwater sea. However, lots were already sold, so there the town of Sacramento stayed. At the end of the century, the streets were raised a full story, so buildings in Old Town Sacramento are now entered through what were once doors to the balconies shading the sidewalks below. The Greek word, eureka, has appeared on the state seal since 1849, when California sought statehood, and means, I have found it. The words were probably intended to refer to the discovery of gold in California. Archimedes, the famed Greek mathematician, is said to have exclaimed, Eureka, when, after long study, he discovered a method of determining the purity of gold. In 1957, attempts were made to establish "In God We Trust" as the state motto, but Eureka was made the official state motto in 1963.